Valle.
Hello,
Hi there, my name is Jacob.
my name is Anne.
And my name is Lina.
Nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you as well.
Do you want to be the first?
I'm sorry?
Would you like to start the conversation?
Sure. So, currently I'm just very curious of how severely you're being affected right now with all this going on, with all the hysteria and disarray that's surrounding you. How has it affected you currently?
From the left is from Jonas.
We deal with all problems. We try to stand up to all lifetime troubles.
Well,
So today we are going to talk about inflation, and we would like to present you a short presentation. Yes.
about the on this theme.
Great.
So, the rate at which the general level of prices for goods and services is rising and subsequently purchasing power is falling. Central banks attempt to stop severe inflation along with the severe deflation in attempt to keep the excessive growth of prices to a minimum. The inflation rate in Ukraine was recorded at 20% in October of 2014. Inflation rate in Ukraine averaged 60, 36% from 1995 until 2014, reaching an all-time high of 5,000% in September of 1995 and a record low of 1% in June of 2012. Inflation rate in Ukraine is reported by the State Statistics Service of Ukraine. So in Ukraine, the inflation rate measures a broad rise or fall in prices that consumers pay for a standard basket of goods. So inflation continues to accelerate in October. All goods and clothes are becoming more and more expensive, and there are a lot of predictions about rising inflation in the future. And there is some information about how to
solve this problem.
inflation.
Well, this is my part actually, and I would like to start with the following statement. Well, the economic crisis is a widespread phenomenon and the integral part of the economic process in any country. Well, its influence is all encompassing but uneven. Well, this applies to both sectors of production and social life. And it should be noted that there are many factors which have an influence on the crisis. For example, the general stagnation of the economy or even the action of a basic psychological law. Well, the man with the rise of the income spends more than he or she can afford. However, it is necessary to distinguish between the economic downturn associated with the rapid development of enterprises and the one that talks about the presence of global state economic problems. Well, Now Ukraine is suffering from many negative trends, corruption, low wages, not to mention the systematical location of the Russian troops in the territory. All these destroys the economy and the people living in this country. Well, inflation as one of the biggest causes of the crisis makes prices rise. It in turn affects the demand and the supply of the products. So as a result, we have our economic destroyed. Well, at present, it seems to me that the most appropriate method of the settlement of the economical situation is the decentralization process. The distribution of rights and responsibilities between administrative territorial units and the corresponding center. Well, this method allows to solve the problem involving each territorial unit. Well, among the main positive effects of the decentralization, I would like to call the following. The development of regions and cities, of course, satisfy needs of material, social, and spiritual plan, while economical, political, and cultural freedom extension. And our financial system should be under the control of the government, I think. And this is another method of the solving economical problems, I think. There are so many of them, and this one, I think, it would be the most suitable, just in this situation.
All in all, official inflation rates are being artificially understated in Ukraine to manipulate consumer expenditures. Meanwhile, Ukrainians can afford a lot of things to them. They splash out all money uh, for food, for things that are really needed, but they don't care, but they can't afford to them uh, uh, enjoyable things. So maybe it is all. And what do you think about inflation in general? Yes, and something about inflation in your country.
So personally, I feel that invasion is obviously a very traumatic experience and instigator for the country being invaded. As shown by Russia invading your country, like you've already said, has caused such a high, steep rise in your inflation rate, as well as affecting your life on a daily basis with things having to cost more. And in a sense, a lot of your rights and economic rights are being taken away. You're being institutionalized into a system of economic slavery. That being said, in America, for example, I think the capitalist model that we have here, and just having such a high national security, it's one of the reasons why America spends so much money to finance its military each year so that it can prevent ever being invaded and being taken over, because one of our biggest sectors of our infrastructure is obviously our economy and our free market system. For that to be taken away, for that to be hindered in any way, would impact every American and would crush the American dream for every citizen in America, person living in America. And while I can't account for a particular time, and since I've been born in America, where the inflation rate has been incredibly bad or too bad, I know that in 1929, during the Great Depression in the 30s, right before World War II, which brought us out, the United States out of the Depression, was probably the highest time for inflation that I can account for in American history. And in 2008, there was 2007, 2008, was almost another time when a depression was going to occur again, when the government had to bail out a lot of businesses. finance money. If they didn't, then the economy for U.S. would have tanked. So fortunately, we haven't had something like that that's happening to you within our country, at least not in my lifetime. And I'm very glad. But
impacted you guys mostly in college tuition. Talk about that.
however, at the level that it can be closely reflected for my generation is at college tuition. Because while I'm not being directly affected at the price of, for example, if I want to go buy a loaf of bread, well, that has increased dramatically since, let's say, the 1950s. It's not a significant increase, at least not to my generation, because it's offset with the amount of wages and amount of money we get in the first place. It's seen as balanced or the same if you compare it. Whereas in college tuition, college costing uh, tens of thousands of dollars each year, but that's an obvious change to see because that's a lot and lots of money that you're going to use to control and decide your future. So since the 70s, for example, we've been looking at some recent charts, and the University of Texas at Austin, a college that's about, 10 miles from about here at Del Valle High School, we see that the price of tuition has gone up significantly over the years, and it's been inflated so the university can stay in practice for one, but also so that more students can be able to go to college because your tuition pays for other students. So the price of in college has been inflated over the years, constantly.
Tell them it went from like $100 to over 10,000.
So essentially, when my debate coach, Mr. Cunningham, was going to college, if he would have wanted to apply to UT, it would have cost him $100 for our tuition. But now, it's over, when I'm applying right now, it's over $10,000 to be able to apply. I would have to pay to be able to go to college, or I have to take out a loan by the government or from another place to receive a student loan. So it's very horrible in that aspect, but obviously what you're saying is still worse because it's affecting your daily lives of paying for clothes and things of that nature that you've stated already. I was actually more curious about that, how it impacted you more personally, because if prices are going higher, you said the inflation is at the highest it's ever been. I'm curious to know how much more routine it's affecting you. For example, is it now a trip to the grocery store is you're not able to purchase not nearly as much because everything costs so much more? Or how does it affect you on a personal level, I guess is my question.
Firstly, everyday prices are rising. Uh, for instance, the most increase in prices is for transportation and for medicine, and also for food. No, every day we go to the yes. Every day we are going to the shopping center, and we see that prices are much expensive than they were a day before. So it really have a great impact on our routine because a lot of things started to be very expensive, and we uh, so
So as a simple, and we need to, of course, we need to spend more than we expected. And the problem is we are just the students of the Lyceum, and the only thing we could do is telling about this problem, maybe proposing some new solutions, but we cannot do anything else.
Yes, but unfortunately, our authorities hide the real indicator of inflation, and uh, and we don't really know how higher it is, how high it is. They say that everything is all right, but we see that everyday prices are rising, and but salary don't rise. So prices rise and salary don't.
Right, and that's definitely a practice of most governments, or I would expect any government, certainly something the United States would do, because we've seen throughout history our government will lie and withhold knowledge from the people in order to keep them, in a sense, ignorant. So they don't know how bad things really are. If they're told things are still going good, at least they still have some hope that you can still keep them from wanting to fight back. I think conferences like this are so important because you're trying to, well, you have uncovered the truth and you're trying to do something to change and trying to implement plans to fix it. And especially in the context of war, a lot of times we see when inflation and debt rises for countries, it's probably the biggest indicator of economic downturns for countries, especially when you're on the losing side of a war. And if we were to put it in context, that's what I think it would be from your perspective. So do you think that on my end, from the United States perspective, in addition to talking about the business plan that y'all were speaking of, in addition to that, the United States could help in, let's, for example, sending any type of economic aid or sending troops to help out this effort against Russia? Because, for example, in the United States, and we've had other debates about this, there's been persons that are pro-Ukrainian saying that we should help out Ukraine, defend off Russia, and help restabilize the economy. Whereas that's not what y'all are saying. What y'all are saying is to improve internally and fight for your rights and improve the role of your business to secure your economy back. So what do you think? Do you think any outside or foreign intervention would help as well to restabilize your economy?
Well, our government is trying to solve the problem by itself, so maybe, I guess, we need some help from another country. We need not even material help, but yes, material help, but we also need to be heard, to just to announce that we really have a problem and we need some more resources, more money, of course.
Yes.
Yes.
And the main our problem is Russia, and we really need help from other countries to strike and stop it, because all our problems
Are coming just from this country.
yes. So without Russia, I think we will cope with all our problems inside our countries, and um, but Russia is always trying to mm, destroy all our attempts uh, to stable our situation. So we need uh, we need help of other countries with Russia.
Right, I completely agree, because it's been the history of the United States to, in a sense, police the world and help out other countries who are in dire need. For example, in the Ebola crisis that's been so prevalent in the world for the last few months. And I think especially in the context of your problem, it's so important, as you said, to get some exposure to this, to expand it to the rest of the world, because if more people knew what would be going on, obviously they'd be more sympathetic to the problem that's going on and will want to stop the huge bully that Russia is being towards your country, because it's not fair and it's not humanly correct for a country to try to take over another and just demoralize it and destabilize its economy, because it's affecting you on such a personal level and really is just deteriorating your ability as students and your ability to be Ukrainian because they're trying to strip you of your nationality. On the flip side of things, unfortunately, there's other people saying those who wouldn't have a problem helping the Ukraine, but just they see us, for example, supporting with finances and troops, for example. Well, if we did that, it's essentially declaring war on Russia. So I would think, my next question is, do you think the support of other countries in helping you fend off Russia is worth going to war with Russia, if it came to that?
We have some problems with the connection. We
Oh.
don't see you and hear you.
Right, I'm sorry. So I'll repeat my question. So with the other side of things about people who want to support,
We
but
can't hear you.
you can't hear us? You can't hear me?
Okay, now try.
We hear you but don't see you.
You can't see me? Okay.
We see you but don't hear you.
Okay,
Can you hear me now?
can you hear us now? Can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
Oh yes. Oh, everything is all right. Yes.
You can hear me again?
Okay, yeah.
So you can hear me right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry about that. The question I was phrasing to you was, so so you agreed that foreign intervention and foreign help will be good for your country against spending off Russia. One of the biggest controversies surrounding this of whether or not the U.S. should send aid in other countries is essentially they'd be, well, going on the other side of what Russia's supporting. So in a sense, they'd be going anti-Russia, and they're hesitant about starting a war with Russia, having to get involved. So do you think it would be worth it, from your country's standpoint, to have other countries aid you if it would mean starting a world war with Russia, starting another world war, World War III, for example?
Unfortunately, it can happen that we will have the world war, but I don't think that it will be good if not only Ukraine will fight with Russia, but all world will fight with Russia. If, okay, so I think if all countries start to fight with Russia against Russia, it will be it will be faster, and I think less victims of war will be. There will be less victims of war because our war with Russia is continuing and continued, and we don't know when it will finish. Yes.
This kind of help when a single country started to solve our problem doesn't work anymore. I think that the countries should cooperate, should try to solve this problem together, and it will be more maybe appropriate. Yes.
According to Ukrainian history, Russia is always trying to destabilize our country and uh, destroy our independence and liberty. And I think uh, Russia must be stopped once and for all, because it can have a bad bad consequences not only for Ukraine but for other countries. Because Russia, I'm sure that Russia won't stop only when won't stop if it destroy Ukraine. It will try to capture all the countries with the insane president.
And actually, I'm from the Donetsk, the city that was occupied by the Russian terrorists, and well, I would like to show you my presentation about the city, how beautiful it used to be, and yes, it used to be. Well, so now I will open this presentation. So could you wait for a couple of minutes?
Certainly, thank you.